Hi, this is Hank Stratton from Half Past Dead Paranormal Radio Show. Join me and my partner, Roger Belt, on Monday nights, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, 6 Pacific, and at 3 in Hawaii on www.cjmars.radio.com/CJMars_chat.html. Join us for guest interviews in the paranormal and strange. Join us. If you can't be normal, be paranormal. You are listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Half Past Dead Paranormal Radio, the paranormal and strange. We're brought to you live on WCJV Digital Broadcasting out of Youngstown, New York. I'm your host, Roger Belt, and my other host is the Mr. Wonderful Air, Hank Stratton.
I don't know about wonderful, but hi, everybody.
Hank, you wanted to throw something out there, didn't you, before we get rolling here? I believe me and you discussed a little bit.
Yes, yes, I did. I wanted to give a shout out to all our paranormal brothers and sisters throughout the world, not just in the United States. We've got friends out there in Belgium, England, Australia, Italy, Greece, the Netherlands, as well as here in the United States. Just wanted to say hi, everybody, and thanks for being part of a wonderful paranormal group. Thank you.
Awesome. What he said, and then some. We have a good show for everybody tonight. We have, I believe, Greg is here. He's the tour guide for Iron Island Museum in Buffalo, New York. And I believe Linda's going to be with us, Stone, or is she not going to be here for a little while? Greg, welcome aboard.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. It's nice to talk to you guys. I talked to you a little bit last week, and it was a pleasure.
Well, we enjoyed it, and we're glad we could have you guys on. I believe Linda's going to be here maybe a little bit.
Oh, that'll be great. That'll be great.
I have, and I was mulling this over just before we started the show, because I had been doing a little research on Iron Island, and it was originally built as a church, and then it was a funeral home,
right? Okay.
And then did it become Iron Island after that, or?
Yeah, if you want me to explain that, after it was a funeral parlor and through 3 different companies, and that was from the middle 50s, and it went all the way to the year 2000. Then it closed up due to competition down the street. When it did close up, can I mention names at all, or?
That's fine. Just whatever you need to say to get the information out.
That sounds good, Roger. It was the last company was Amagon Funeral Homes, and anybody that's in Western New York will probably recognize that name. They had donated to Marge and Linda and the Iron Island Preservation Society for their new museum. They used to have a museum down the street, and it was in a storefront, and I believe they just didn't have enough room in that place to really hold everything. So the Amagons had donated it to the Preservation Society, and it's just a perfect building for it.
That's awesome. Now that brings me to my question. I was going to ask, you kind of maybe answered it a little bit just then. I was going to ask you, how did you come up with Iron Island? I mean,
the Iron Island name?
Right, but then you just kind of answered that question there before I even got to ask it.
Okay. Well, do you want me to finish up on it then to why they call it?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. I'll be glad to. There used to be a railroading community because we have the switch yards and tracks and everything, and then we have the Buffalo Terminal down towards downtown. And being surrounded by tracks is why they called it Iron Island. And back in the day, it was mostly railroad workers that lived there, and that's why they took on that moniker.
Okay, that answered my question. I was kind of wondering where the name come from, and of course I'm from way down here in Tennessee, so I don't know a lot about up in that area. So yeah, that's pretty much. I was kind of wondering, where did Iron Island come from? But then, yeah, that's good.
Yeah. It's like a city within Buffalo. It's in Buffalo, but it's not a city. It's like a small town within Buffalo, because everybody knows each other here. It's a great place.
Right. Now, you guys, y'all have had ghost hunters up there. I think Ghost Adventures may have been there.
Not Ghost Adventures yet.
Okay, Ghost Lab.
Ghost Lab, we did the Kling brothers. They're awesome.
Right, and you also had an episode, and I watched this. I have this episode downloaded of My Ghost Story.
Yeah, that was on, and believe it or not, that's the one that I've missed, and I've been trying to find something on it and get a chance to see that.
Well, I watched this prior to this show and everything, and from what I'm gathering there, it was about, the episode was about a woman and her mother who came there and had the bejesus scared out of them, basically. And Edgar was brought up.
Oh, yeah.
And there was also mention of a little child girl spirit in the basement area by the name of Heather.
Oh, okay.
And also a male spirit in that area who they believe is holding the other ones back and not letting them cross over or what have you. I'm not exactly sure on that, but
okay.
And they thought it might have been Edgar, but
well, I don't think Edgar's been there for so long. We almost know him personally, but there are other spirits that are there that we don't know who they are. Now, the spirit that's down, you don't mind me, jumping the gun a little bit.
No, that's
go ahead.
Oh, okay. But the one spirit we have down in the basement, I call him the cellar dweller. It kind of freaks the people out down there, but that's the only name I have for him. So, but yeah, he comes out once in a while. He's good on a ghost box and EVPs. Sometimes you'll hear out walking down there, but we're not too sure exactly who he is. The little female spirit there, we've heard about her, and the one name we got 2 years ago was Isabella, and it just kind of stick too. So, like I say, we do have spirits coming in and out of there, Roger.
Hey. Okay.
Hello.
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 Hi, it's Linda.
Hey, Linda.
Hi, Linda.
How you doing?
We're doing pretty good. How are you this wonderful Monday night?
I'm exhausted. It's been a long weekend, but I'm here. Can't wait to talk to you guys. And
Well, we are glad that you're here, and I'm looking for, I have something saved here that I'm trying to find real quick. Hank, if you got something you want to add, go ahead. I'm trying to find something real quick here.
Okay, great, Roger. Greg, you were mentioning something of the history of Iron Island. When did you? Who did and when did the Veteran Memorial come up?
Oh, you mean the military room you're talking about?
Okay, the military room.
Yeah, it's a separate, not a separate part. We have it in the upstairs in 3 different separate parts, and one is the military room and honors our veterans there.
did you want to know how the military room started with Edgar?
That's what I'm trying to get to, because I've gone on the link and I've seen how everything looked and how wonderful everything was set up, and it's like, okay, how did this come about? I mean, your veteran memorial is really nice, especially the sign that you have up with the big red, white, and blue V.
Okay, that happened to be a World War II sign that was made from people in the Iron Island neighborhood back in World War II who had gone off to war. A gentleman from the neighborhood made the sign, and people would come in and give them the pictures of their sons and as they went off to war. It's many years it sat in the garage of an old church, and someone was going to throw it out and realized, oh boy, we can donate that to the museum, and they did, and it happens to be actually one of my favorite pieces that's in there, and we researched as many names on there as we could, because a lot of them were worn off because of weather and everything. But it is an awesome piece of history for our museum and our neighborhood.
How did you know, or what was the first evidence? I've got someone that's asking. How did you find out that you were having paranormal experiences in the museum?
Well, when we took the building over in August of 2000, Mr. Anthony Amagon had called us out of the clear blue sky and asked if we wanted the building for the museum. And I was a little nervous about it because when it was a funeral home, my brother had passed away in 1969, and he was actually waked out of that building. And I said to my mom, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And she said, "Yeah, why not? You know, it's a good thing for the museum, and you know, when it's donated to you, it's hard to turn it down." So we got in there, and instantly things started happening to the different volunteers, but no one was really talking to each other about it. And when I had my first experience, it was that first Christmas. We were having a function at the museum, and I had gone in there. I was in the kitchen. That's if you go in through the garage, you can go into the kitchen area, and that's as far as I would go. And I'm in the kitchen, and I heard all the aluminum chairs in the front room being banged together, as if someone was up there moving chairs around, but nobody else was in the building. I left the building. I called another one of our volunteers, and I said, "You need to get over here because I am not going back in there." And aside from one time, I have not gone into that building alone. I don't do that. I'm afraid to.
We're not laughing at you, Linda.
Go ahead. Everybody else does.
I am. Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, Linda.
Being paranormal investigators, we all have that. We have all had that first, "Oh my God, what did we just get into?" moment. You know.
Exactly. But it was weird, and again, it was happening to my mom, who's the museum curator, and Rose, who was another volunteer at the museum. The strangest things were happening, and finally something happened that they decided to compare notes. And we were like, "Oh my God, that happened to you?" And, "Oh, that happened to you?" And my sister had said, "You need to write to ghost hunters." And which we did, and within 24 hours of writing to them, they responded that they wanted to come into the museum and do an investigation. But prior to them even coming there, they came in June of 2008, and our show was on in September of 2008, their season opener, and we had 2.7 million viewers.
Wow.
But Greg Hoffman was the very first individual to investigate at the museum. Him and I... Greg was a security guard at the federal building where I work, and he had heard me talk about it, and he had asked me, "Do you care if we do this?" And I was like, "Oh, go ahead. Nothing's going to happen." Because at the time, I mean, this isn't what I expected in my life, and I never in a million years thought anything of it. I thought, no, stuff happens. It's not that I didn't believe it, but I thought, you're not going to get anything. And he came back, and he had so much evidence, and he said, "Linda, people are so into this paranormal, and people want places to investigate." And sorry, Greg, I kind of thought he was nuts, thinking, "No, this isn't going to happen."
I tell him that story all the time, Linda, so don't worry.
and then, I just, between him and his son, what they came back with, it was amazing. And then Ghost Hunters was there, and I mean, that literally put Iron Island on the map, because I almost think that all those 2.7 million people that watched it have come through our door. We've had that many guests come through, and people book overnights, and it's just unbelievable. And it's never a dull moment in there, never.
That's awesome. Hey, I want to break in here just for a second and remind everybody that this is Anti-Bullying Month on CJ Mars Radio. All of us are against bullying. I know my friends are, and most of you people out there are. So we're just wanting to get the word up and out there that bullying is not a good thing. Cyberbullying or any other type of bullying, we don't condone it here. So having said that, I'll let y'all get back at it.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, then...
Linda.
Oh, thanks, Greg. But it's interesting because I'd have to say 90% of the people who come through the museum now and our volunteers are all people we met after we were on Ghost Hunters, and there's some of them that are our very best friends, and including all our volunteers. We have the Buffalo Paranormal Investigators. They are the main research team out of our museum, and Patrick Burke, who is the founder of that organization, is he has his team, and they come in and they do a lot of research for us, and we've all become very, very, very good friends through this. And with Lorraine and Gina and Peg and, everybody, my family, it just makes for a very amazing building, and its history is absolutely amazing aside from the haunting. And if you didn't have the history we have, we wouldn't have the hauntings that go with it.
Are you aware of Heather, the little girl ghost that's supposed to be in the basement? Did Ghost Hunters get anything on her? Or?
No, they didn't pick up on a little girl at all. They allegedly were communicating with my brother, and then they picked up on the man, the shadow man, and the man up in the attic, who turned out to be Edgar, which is a story I'll tell you about in a minute. But Heather, I think, was picked up by another group, a paranormal group that had come in, because we do have children in there. So there are, I don't know who Heather is, or, don't know a lot about that story.
Okay, well, I watched the episode of My Ghost Story, and that's where I got Heather from. She's supposed to be in the basement along with a male entity of some sort.
Well, we were told that there is a female in the basement that is being held down there by a male. And again, that's what was told to us by people who come through the building, psychics who claim that that's what they hear and see, but we haven't been able to really identify it. Now, My Ghost Story, I was there, myself and our volunteer Peg, when Sherry and Jessica from California had come in, and we were sitting in the one room, and Edgar had come down and stood right before us. We all saw him, a black shadow figure, as we had said, come down from the attic, and he did. And that is what scared these two women so much. They had gone back to California. They ran into the producer of My Ghost Story and told them their story, and that's how we ended up on there.
Wow.
But when I don't know if Greg was able to tell you this or not yet, but when we took over the building, there were 24 cremated remains left in the basement. Have you told you that, Sarp?
No.
Well, okay, the remains were left there from the original funeral home director. When we got the building, we got the key, we were running around, we found them, and we wrote down all their names and dates of death, and we called them.
Well, he might have mentioned that, I'm sorry, briefly, but...
Okay. Well, we had filed all the names away and never really paid attention to it. Mr. Amagon came and picked up all the remains, and, he had them in his custodial care. Well, when we were on Ghost Hunters, and they had gone up the ladder and had their little run-in with the man up in the attic, and they picked up some unbelievable EVPs at the time. After they came, Chip Coffey was at the museum. He came in August of 2009. And I'm sure you all know who Chip Coffey is.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And when Chip was there, he had gone up the ladder, he saw this man, and he came down and he told me that the man's name was Edgar. And I kind of shrugged it off, but I thought, oh, cool, now we kind of have a name with this man that everyone keeps picking up on. And about, 6, 7, 8 months had gone by. I was sitting at the desk on a Saturday morning, and I pulled out the list of the remains, and on there was a man by the name of Edgar Zernicki, that he was left in our basement. So right then and there, we were able to identify him, and I went on to Google Edgar's name and found out that Edgar was a U.S. Marine and fought in the Battle of Nicaragua in 1928. And I thought, wow, Edgar's a veteran. Well, I'm also the Region 1 coordinator for the Patriot Guard Riders Veteran Recovery Program. And what our mission is to find unclaimed cremated remains of veterans identify them with veteran status, and give them proper military burials.
Bravo.
Well, once I knew that Edgar was a veteran, I had to find his family, which I did. I ended up finding his son in Spain, and his son gave me the power of attorney to bury his father. At the same time, 7 more of those remains that were in our basement were veterans.
Wow.
And on September 24th, 2010, we had 120 motorcycle escort from the Patriot Guard riders from Buffalo to the Bath National Cemetery to bury all 8 of those veterans with full military honors.
That's awesome.
Beautiful.
All because Chip Coffey said the name Edgar.
That is awesome.
Yep, so that was very cool how we were able to identify him and verify, what Chip said. And it was another story that Chip had told us. He had gone in the kids' room. We have a room, the first room, we call it the railroad room, because that's where we have a lot of the railroad memorabilia. Well, Chip Coffey was in that room, and he had told us about a little boy. And he said, there's a little boy in this room. He said he died when he was 6 years old, and he died from drowning. And I was like, okay, he kind of shrugged it off. And he said he comes here a lot, but he doesn't stay. He goes back and forth. And I thought that was interesting. Well, Mr. Wozniak, who was the original funeral home director, had actually left all the records from the 60s in the basement. So one day I started flipping through the records, and sure enough, I found a little boy by the name of Richard New. And it turned out that Richard had died when he was 6 years old, and he had died from drowning. And
wow.
What that in itself was amazing, but when I looked at the address of where Richard lived, he lived 7 or 8 houses down from the museum, the funeral home, and hence going back and forth because his parents still lived there.
Okay, who is Timmy?
That's what Tommy.
Tommy, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, Tommy.
That's what I was going to ask.
That's okay. Tommy was actually picked up, and Greg will remember this. Tommy was picked up way back, actually even before Ghost Hunters came. After Greg had investigated, he had reached out. He knew some people who were into the paranormal, and they had come down from Toronto. And it was a group, and in the group there were 2 women psychics. And they were investigating, again, in that front room, that kids' room, as we call it. And they told me, again, there's a little boy here. They said he died when he was about 6 years old, and his name is Tommy. And, again, I kind of shrugged it off and, just kept it in the back of my mind. I had gone to those records and flipped through the records, and sure enough found a little boy by the name of Tommy Colangelo. And Tommy had died at the age of 6, and he had died from leukemia. So we were able to verify that. But after we were on Ghost Hunters, a friend of mine, well, I wasn't a friend at the time, he had come through the door, and he was all excited about coming into the museum, and I asked him what his name was, and he said it was Dominic Colangelo. Well, it turned out to be Tommy's cousin. And he brought us a picture of Tommy, and he, has since been a friend of the museum. His family has been in there, and Tommy was waked out of that very room that these girls picked him up in. And so we have both a picture of Tommy and of Richie at the museum and displayed in the room, and we tell their stories all the time.
Johnny wants to know, Greg, how you got into paranormal investigating.
Oh, this is going to be long-winded. I hope you got a few minutes, Linda, to talk if I can. But
go for it.
I'm going to try to keep it as brief as I can so Linda can pop on in again. Well, I always had an interest in it, and then I read Ed and Lorraine Warren's book, The Demonologist, way back in the 80s, if you're familiar with their book. And I started getting into it, and just to start out, I was in the military back in the late 60s. I just got back from Vietnam, and I went to pick up some friends. I'm from Angola, down south of the city. And we're riding along, and just to say, some girlfriends, our girls were hitchhiking, and we picked them up, and I had a bottle of Tango under the street. I'll be honest, but we didn't drink it. Anyway, so we wanted a place to park and just to party a little bit. So there used to be, I'm not going to tell you the exact location because the case is still kind of pending, but there's a place on the lake shore where there's like a huge, expanse, like an estate that these rich people had owned. And there were riding trails back there. Well, the riding trails were always, a good lover's lane in that. And so we went back on this riding trail, and there was bramble bushes and everything. And we're sitting there, and my buddy was behind the wheel, and he wanted to scare the girls. So what he did was he said, "There's a guy with a hook." If you remember that, with the old story about the guy with the hook and everything, trying to scare the girls. And he turned on a headlight, and this is one of the best apparitions I've ever seen. It was a misty apparition of a woman about a foot off the ground coming towards the car when the headlights were turned on. And we backed out of that place about 100 miles an hour because back then I wasn't into ghost hunting. And the girls were screaming, we were screaming, and we never went back there. But forward 40 years from then, and I was friends with, I don't know if I should say his name or not, but he's kind of a well-known paranormal author around our area. And I've helped him with some cases. He's helped me with some of mine. And he was helping me with the case because I'd love to see her again, the apparition. So what had happened was... I thought
you were talking about the girl you took down there.
Well, they wanted to go home. Are you sure they weren't related to you, Linda? I'm not laughing at you.
Oh, good Lord.
No, they were scared to death. But, wait, give me a minute. So anyways, so he gave me some good information on the estate there. And come to find out that there was the estate. It was a rich family in Buffalo that owned a linseed oil company. And like I say, I'd like to say the name, but I'm going to try to keep it under wraps until everything comes out. But there was the third generation over there, this fella, and I'll just call him George, but it's not really. And he had wound up marrying a woman when she was, back in the 1920s, I think he married her. And she was a championship horseback rider, and they had a stables there. And she was riding on her horse, and she fell off, hit her head. Then she died the next day. So we kind of put two and two together and saying this is a woman. Now, I've gotten a hold of the family. I've gotten a hold of some of the people that run a place for special needs kids because they split up the estate. It's a big estate, and they split it up. And it's still an ongoing investigation over there. But it's an amazing story. I've got the date of her death. I have the newspaper clipping that I got from the Buffalo Historical Society. And it's kind of a personal thing to me. It's the first time I've ever seen an apparition. So I'm hoping this summer I can wind that up.
Matt brought up the name Lover's Lane.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but not too many people stay there, they come and go.
I've heard so many stories about different lovers' lanes, and yeah, that would definitely cool the spirits if you, still a bad choice of words.
Oh, yeah. Well, thinking back now, what I know now, it was definitely an apparition, because when you're a kid, you don't know, but she was right out there in front of us, and I've never seen anybody walk a foot above the ground, so, but we did see her, and she's been seen by other people around there, too, plus the spirit of a little girl that walks around the one place where they have the special needs kids. And I was called over there, the same thing, but if I do an investigation here, I got to be careful not to scare the kids or try not to let the kids know that the little girl spirit walks around and has been seen, so it's quite a story, though, but the Lake Shore, south of Buffalo, has a million stories to it, and I'm going to keep digging into it as long as I can. So,
could you just picture some guy's daughter and her boyfriend going out and, him recommending, well, why don't y'all go park up there such and such?
Well, if I had to be a granddaughter now, if I had a granddaughter now, I'd probably be doing the same thing you were talking about, just to get
because you pretty much figure ain't nothing going to happen, you know what I mean?
Well, the ghost could do my work for me.
Right.
That's better than sitting on the front porch with a white shotgun. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. I'm glad I have a son because I never had to worry about those things. Oh, man.
What you're describing, Greg, is what many of us would refer to as the holy grail of paranormal investigations.
Yes,
a full or partial apparition. And that is such a holy grail.
Oh, yeah. I've only seen it twice in my life. But the second one, I'll get to that if you guys, if we get enough time, was a residual. Now, this might be a residual, too, if he walks the same path all the time, So,
yes.
But, that was my first experience, and I thought it was going to be my last, and I read the book by Ed and Lorraine Warren, like I say, The Demonologist, back in the 80s, and it really piqued my interest, and started reading up about it, and then I joined up with, if you're familiar with Rolling Hills Asylum out in Batavia.
Yes.
Okay, I was with Rolling Hills for 3 years. I was going there a long time, and then I joined the society over there. My son and I joined. In fact, I deserted them for Iron Island, right, Linda?
Yes, Greg.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God, that certain person over there was really mad at me too, but I don't care. Yeah. No, she was good too, but I'm comfortable at Iron Island. I was comfortable in both places, but Iron Island, to me, is like a living, breathing entity, the building itself. I don't know. I'm sure you guys have been in buildings like that where when you walk in, you become a part of that building. Did you ever have feelings like that, or?
I've gone into buildings and found that the building itself had its own spirit, and as long as that home or that structure was respected, all were welcomed.
Oh yeah, and that's what we try to do. Ask Linda. That's what we try to do at Iron Island, because we have our spirits there. We know them. We have some spirits coming in and out of there too. And we all treat them with respect when they have groups there. I highly recommend them not to try provoking or anything, because you don't need to provoke over there. So,
and that's provoking is such a bad idea. I mean, look at it from the standpoint, if you come into my home, you don't know I'm there, you totally ignore I'm there, and yet you're going to take a stick and you're going to start poking at me. And no matter how friendly I am, I'm going to come back to you with fangs and nails bared,
Oh, sure. Now, I'm even careful, and, like I said, I've done, and Linda can back me up, I did, about 200, 300 investigations just at Iron Island alone through the years, because I've been there for, 7 years, Linda?
Right, since 2007, yeah.
Yeah, about 6-7 years. And, I found out that, like I say, if you even talking to them, like I'm explaining the spirits to people that are there, our guests, I try to use, to be respectful too, because they're listening. They're there, And some people will talk about a spirit until they start calling them out. They'll just say anything they want about a spirit and get them teed off. They're just human beings without a body, So I always try to be respectful even then,
And that's how we kind of felt about when ghost hunters went there and they went up into the rafters, which we call the attic, and they were very antagonistic. And that's when the spirit, who we now, call Edgar, came back at them and was like, "What do you want? Leave me alone." That was a couple of the EVPs that they picked up, and they were as clear as day. And that's how I try to explain people. They say, "Oh, who's that crabby man in the attic?" And I'm thinking, well, he's really not a crabby man. You just came into his home and you're antagonizing him. so what do you expect for a response? And that's, we just try to say Edgar's not a crabby old man like everyone thinks he is. It's just they were bothering him.
Well, it's like Hank said, though, you go in somebody's home, be it they a spirit or whatever, and you're poking and prodding at them, they're going to get upset. Who wouldn't? I would.
Yeah, I would too. Definitely.
Yeah, it's probably good for like any place you go to too. Besides that, Rolling Hills was like that too. And you poke and prod them over there, and boy, watch out.
Rolling Hills, is it like a really, really active place?
Marcus, like a what?
Is it really active over there?
Yeah, it's very active too. Now I'm going to say, and right in front of Linda's, and it's true that our place, our Iron Island is pound per pound probably more active than Rolling Hills, but Rolling Hills still has its activity too. But theirs is more of a dark activity too. It's they did witchcraft. The nurses over there were into witchcraft and everything.
Wow.
Else, probably brought about some kind of a dark entity there. I've had some experiences over there.
Speaking for being Wiccan myself, it really depends on what you're doing, because under ordinary circumstances, we don't do that sort of thing. It's absolutely counterproductive. But I wanted to make mention, we had Matt last week, Niagara Paranormal Investigations, and we caught some of his footage of the investigations that they were doing at Iron Island. And I got to tell you, I love the way his team was doing the investigation. Respectful, really doing things great. I loved it.
Oh yeah. That's why, like I say, I've been backing them all the way. Because I hate to steal Linda's thunder. You're still there, Linda?
You're fine.
Okay.
You're
just
fine.
For a few seconds, but I have the opportunity to have every different kind of group, family, people from offices, all different kinds of people over there, and most of them are respectful. If they're not, I'll kind of warn them about it, to be respectful over there, but 99 and 9/10% are, I tell them about the spirits. I tell them they're not evil or anything or dark, and they're benign, and I let them take it from there, so.
I was disappointed that we couldn't see the ball falling off the table that Matt and them had picked up, because of the way it was situated with our cameras. It was at the far end, and it was too dark, and there was stuff blocking it, so we were unable to see that. So that was kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
Greg?
Yeah.
Johnny wants to know if you can explain what it was like investigating there for the first time in Iron Island.
On Iron Island? Yeah, it was pretty neat. It was, like I say, after I got a chance to talk to Linda and we interviewed her mom, Linda and her mom, we were really excited to get out there. And it started out slow, and some places do, and then just everything hit the fan with the voices, the footsteps. God, we see shadow people. Sometimes I've had about 3 in-your-face encounters with shadow people there, because that's pretty rare when you have an in-your-face one, as you know. And but there was more than enough evidence to show that the place was haunted. I mean, it was irrefutable.
We have had some experiences in the museum too, where things haven't been that nice. And in one case, we were Patrick and BPI were in there doing an investigation, Patrick and Paul Doring, he's a member of BPI, they actually do a lot of work at the museum. This particular time they were shoveling snow off the roof, off the garage. And they had gone in, it was a Sunday night, nothing was going on. They went and sat down and were just resting. And they both heard something up in the front of the building, so they started walking up there. And Paul, who always has his recorder going, had his recorder with him, was walking up there, and Patrick turned the corner, and as he turned the corner, now Patrick's a tall guy, he's over 6 feet tall, and he walked right into a tall black shadow figure, stopped dead in his tracks so much where Paul ran right into the back of him and said, "Whoa, what was that?" And Patrick said, "Wow, I just saw this this shadow. I just swear I walked into the shadow figure." Well, Paul played back his recorder, and at that time he picked up a man's voice saying, "I'm walking," and whatever it was right there with them. And there was another occasion where my mom, who's the curator, she was there one day on her own, and she was in the what we call the chapel room, and she was folding up some T-shirts. And she was kneeling on the ground, and as she looked to the right outside the door, and she saw what looked like a shadow feet of a little girl, and she described it with girl with little white socks and patent leather Mary Jane shoes, and she saw up to like a skirt line, and she got so scared that she felt like this little girl was very threatening to her, like she was going to kill her. And she reached into her pocket and she called me at work, and I said, "Ma, get the hell out of there." And later on that day, I had called Patrick, and I said, "Patrick, this is what happened," and we checked the Tom, one of the other volunteers at the museum and a member of BPI, he came and checked the cameras, and what we noticed at the time, our cameras are set off by motion. When my mom was in the chapel room, that camera went off as she moved, and at the exact same moment, the hallway camera went off. And we didn't see anything right there, but down at the end of the hallway, it looked like there was a shadow by the very front door. But it was interesting how that happened. And in both of those times, Patrick and Paul felt, I don't want to say threatened, my mom felt threatened. The guys didn't necessarily feel threatened, but they felt that it was a negative feeling. And again, like Greg said, it's not something that's there all the time. It's almost like every so often a negative energy will come in, whether it's brought in by a negative person or whatever. I don't know. Can't just explain that enough to say that I know enough about that. But it's interesting. It's interesting.
Hey, Linda,
yes.
Can you tell them about? Remember when your mom was being interviewed by those UB students? And they were videotaping her, and when she told them that she heard "Hi, Marge," and then when they redid the tape.
Oh, that was the couple from Toronto. They were.
Okay.
My mother would every so often hear a voice say, "Hello, Marge," and this particular time, this couple was interviewing my mother, and she was telling them the story. And as she was telling the story, she heard again someone say, "Hello, Marge." Well, this couple had gone home, and a few days later they sent me an email telling me about they had actually picked up the EVP of this man saying, "Hello, Marge," as she was telling the story about it.
Wow.
So the people in there definitely know who's there. They know the volunteers. They know the people who love and care about the building, and again, I can't say enough about the people that are at the museum and the volunteer at the museum, and Paul and Janine and Mike Berta and Lorraine and Gina and Tom and Peg, all of them. I hope I'm not missing anybody because, and of course Greg, it's just amazing. I cannot stress enough how lucky Iron Island is to have the people we have. We are very lucky because they're here. They've been around for a long time, and they're always there. And I think we're all going to always be together.
That sounds like you've developed a great team. You have you've got this cohesion that many paranormal teams look for and try to bring about.
And I agree, and it's not always the case in the paranormal world, unfortunately. But you know, I mean, I'm obviously not saying. I mean, we're like a family, and we have our little issues, and we drive each other crazy, but we have a great time. I mean, you know, mostly Thursday nights we have our normal tours, and if anybody can come in after the tours, everyone goes home, and the group of us hang out, and we try to investigate almost every Thursday night if possible, and you know, we get crazy things happen, and sometimes we get absolutely nothing, because I'm not going to say that every single time we're in there something happens, because that's not the case. But you know, we end up just laughing at each other and picking on each other, and just like a family, and that's what it is. It's just like a family at Iron Island, and we welcome people in there. I have always been one that I want people to be treated the way I want to be treated when I go someplace. And we have so many repeat, I don't know if the word customers, you know, people that come in and just love coming back because we treat them like they should be treated. And they appreciate it. They appreciate the history of the neighborhood, of the railroad, the military, and they learn from all of that, and then, you know, they come in for those spirits, but they end up appreciating what our history is, and that means a lot to me.
And that's the truth of it. I can tell you, we have gone to a cemetery where we have had a wonderful experience. The footsteps, the numerous EVPs, the partial apparitions, and there are times you don't, and that's the gamble of being a paranormal investigator. But what I want to get back to, you made mention of Tommy and Matt with the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I found in your EVPs, Tommy says something. You made the ball fall, and there's a woman's voice that said yes. Was that captured at the same time Matt was doing that ball experiment on the table?
That EVP might have been something that came from Matt. That EVP is not from us. We have a picture of a ball, a video of the ball rolling from years ago that we picked up on our surveillance camera. But that particular EVP, I have to be honest, might have come from somebody else that sent it to you, or may have come right from Matt. I'm not sure.
Oh no, it wasn't sent to me. I found it on your site.
We have one that says "Come play with me." Is that the one that you're talking about?
No, ball fallen, and then kid says that ball falls down for you,
yes,
and woman says yes.
Yes. Now I remember, because that is old. Oh, my God, that is a long time ago. No.
Oh, that was before Matt?
That was years ago.
Oh.
Years ago, where you actually heard something drop, and you hear a little kid's voice say, "That fell down for you." I know exactly which one you're talking about now. Yeah. That was years ago. Yeah, that was a long time ago. Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of little kids' voices, which is strange. I mean, there's and it's not on our website, but on an EVP that I had picked up that says one of our volunteers at the time was talking about drinking a lot of water. She was always thirsty. And I had the recorder going up outside the office, and all of a sudden you hear a little kid say the word cup, and then he says, "I do pees," and it almost sounds like he's saying something about that he peed. But what he was saying, I think, is she was talking about drinking. He said he had a cup, and then he said, "I do peas," meaning please, but as a little kid, can't say the L's right. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, people get there with the kids and the balls, and, you know, people bring in toys for the kids to play with. And I think on our website there's another EVP of the little kid. There's a couple of guys talking about a computer, and a little voice comes out and says, come play with me. That's, I think, one of the first EVPs on our website. Again, it's all in that same room. These kids' voices a lot of them are getting picked up in that front room area.
Are you going to add any more to the EVPs?
Well, we have to. We're working on the website. A lot of the stuff we ask the groups, and we do put a lot of stuff on our Facebook page now. So we do try to guide people into doing that. We ask that groups and Matt's group and everybody, you get some evidence, put it up there, and but expect people to critique it, because people will critique the heck out of it, which is what you want. You want to have a good, healthy, conversation about what this could or could not be, because I don't ever want to put anything out there that's, not real or made up. I don't want to do that ever, because then it just looks like you're faking evidence, and that's one thing Iron Island does not have to do.
Always debunking, that's the thing. Hey, Linda, Johnny wants to know, what is the most compelling evidence that you've ever gotten from an investigation at the museum?
Oh, yeah. There's a bunch, but I can probably point to one. And we had our own investigation with, like myself and just a small group of people, doing it for ourselves in one night. And we had 5 people there, and we have what we call a conversation in the 2 rooms. And we were, I believe it was in Tommy's room, which would be the first room from the front door. So there was 4 of us sitting around in the chairs. I was facing the hallway, the doorway to the hallway, and then the odd guy out was standing behind me, which was Bruce, Linda. So that was Big Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
And so Bruce was standing behind me, and I'm looking, and I see a large person. It looked like a person, but it was more a shadow walking straight away from us into the hallway, making a left-hand turn. And I asked the guys, I says, "Where's Bruce going?" And Bruce goes, "I'm still here." And we were the only ones in the building, the 5 of us. And whatever it was disappeared. So that was probably one of my best. And another one, I'd say, was when I went up, and not into the attic, but up to the top of the ladder, and I saw the shadow man pacing back and forth in front of the front window, because there's a little bit of light that comes through there, and I could see him pacing back and forth. Now, normally I'm not one to get scared, and I wasn't scared, but for some reason something told me to go back down the ladder again. Now, I'll admit it, and like I say, I wasn't scared so much as I watched it for a while. But then I had this feeling, I don't know if you ever got those gut feelings and that, so. But, so I came back down the ladder, and, I never got a chance to, because I went up there right after that, too, when he was gone, But that was the 2 that stick in my mind, but there's been so many in the past 6, 7 years that I've got a list of them down as much as I can, but really, I'd be taking up your whole show with them,
Yeah, there've been a lot of different things. It's so hard to pick just 1 or 2, but I remember another one of my very first experiences. When you come into our building, into the front door, and you're walking down the hallway, you have the 3 rooms, and then you can go into the back room, and we have what we call the meeting room. And we sit at that table, and we have dinner once in a while. And this particular night, where I sit, you can see directly down the hallway. And there's a big mirror up on the wall, a big circular mirror. And I looked up, and what I saw was a tall, black shadow figure. And it was almost like a square type of head. I can't think of any other way to describe it. But do you remember the old, what the priests or reverends or ministers used to wear with that big top hat type thing? It's not a top hat, forgive me. But that squarish type thing they would wear, garment, that's what it reminded me. And I just kind of closed my eyes and looked back real quick, and it was gone. It was that fast.
That was
but it
Greek
blocked
Orthodox
up that whole mirror.
Like that, I think that was like a Greek Orthodox, right?
Yes, the way they would wear that. Yes, that's kind of a good way to describe it. It was a Methodist Episcopal church at the time. I mean, I don't really know how they dressed for their services or anything, but who knows? It was interesting, though, and scary.
Let's get back to work. Oh, yeah. I was wanting to ask you if at any of your investigations, were any of you ever touched by an entity or...
Yes.
Yes.
I'll tell you
Okay,
quickly.
folks, hold up there, please.
Okay.
We'll come right back to this. We got to take a short pause. We're live on WCJV Digital Broadcasting out of Youngstown, New York. We're going to take a brief pause. We'll be right back.
Join us on our show, Half Past Dead Paranormal Radio, with Roger Belt and myself, Hank Strapp, on July 21st as we interview the members of Iron Island Museum. Check out their website and follow the links for events, hauntings, evidence, photo gallery, our veterans, and the on-site store. Be sure to stop by the Iron Island Museum Veterans Memorial and pay tribute to local veterans that have served our great nation. The Iron Island Museum is located at 899 East Lovejoy Street, Buffalo, New York. Visit their website for further information about guided tours or overnight investigations at www.ironislandmuseum.com or call 716-892-3084 to book an event or an overnight ghost investigation. Again, you can contact the staff of Iron Island Museum at www.ironislandmuseum.com or call 716-892-3084. You are listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York.
Okay, everybody, we're back, and I'm waiting for Miss Linda and Greg there to tell me about all the times they've been pushed, poked, and prodded.
Always fun stories.
Oh, yeah. I can tell of one experience that happened to me. It was a really strange night at the museum, and it was one of these Thursday nights where we, like I said, we hang out after the tours and such are over. And we were in our chapel room, and there were probably 7 of us there that night. And one of the people that was with us, she was sitting on the floor, and she felt like something touched her leg. She had a pair of jeans on, and she almost felt like something ran their hand up the inside of her jeans by her ankle. And then at that same time, Patrick Burks from BPI, he felt something touch him in the head. And I was sitting on the couch in that room, and I felt something poke me. I mean, I could actually feel the finger of a poke on the back of my head, on the right side of my head. I don't think I've ever moved so fast in my life. I flew off the couch screaming, and it was just so weird. But it was whatever was there that night seemed to have enough energy to go around and be poking at people. And when it got me, that was it for me. I have had enough.
Oh, yeah. I've been poked, prodded, things that touched my arm. Somebody was patting me on the head one time, and it was a pat on the head, you know. So it doesn't happen every night, but when it does, you know it, you know.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing like it, right, Linda? Like,
no, it's creepy. It's creepy to me. People might love it. I find it to be insane.
I love it.
It's just their way of letting you know you're appreciated.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I'm sure they're doing it on purpose.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
their way
They're
of
just showing
making
you a little
fun of
love.
Oh, well, if I could say just one thing, but and I think you might remember this too if you heard from the girl. That we had a group over there, and this one girl was sitting. We have a back room where the ladder is, where Grant almost had to change his shorts coming down the ladder there, and it's like a little back room, and there's a lot of energy back there. So I think I was out smoking. Sorry, Linda, at the time. But I come back in, and one of the girls that was there, or ladies actually, is running through the back out the garage and was crying with her husband right behind her.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
You remember that?
I remember you talking about that. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, because talk about energy. Something had grabbed her arm, and grabbed her arm so hard that she just totally freaked. You know, I mean, she really freaked. But yet she came back, a year later, I think it was, and she came back for more. You know, so.
Wow.
We definitely get a lot of repeat customers, so to speak. I mean, they just have so much, you know, so much happens, or there's just even they get a little bit of something that it draws them back to for more, and they just love it.
Right. And also, you know, something that may scare the heck out of you at one time, after you calm down and think about it, you're like, wow, you know, that really happened. I got to see if that'll happen again, you know. And you'll want to go back and do it. I'm sorry, Hank. I know you was wanting to get in there. I just had to say that.
No, that's okay. I already made mention that Matt and Matt's waiting to Linda and Greg.
Okay, that's right. Matt, if you're on
Yeah.
the line there, come on in, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Matt, how you doing, brother?
Hey, how you doing, Greg and Linda? Just calling in to give some support.
Oh, I appreciate it, but everything's
much
going really
appreciated.
good, and you know, things. In fact, that first hour went by like a flash, right, Linda?
It sure did.
Oh yeah, I was listening. It was awesome.
Oh, we're having
Yeah,
fun.
you guys are great.
I'll tell you, you guys are good too. You know, I mean, Linda and I both been through, you know, a lot of interviews actually, and I've been through 7 or 8, and this is the best one so far.
Well, we really appreciate that.
I'm
Well, that's
enjoying
that
myself.
That's that Southern hospitality, right?
Hey, don't forget us Yankees here.
Okay. I love it. Great.
I'm looking
Now,
forward to
you
when you
guys are
update
really
your
awesome, and,
website.
I'm sorry I'm trampling all over people, but you guys are awesome, and if I ever make it up there, you can be sure that I'm going to pay you a visit.
Oh, here, I hope so.
Oh, we'd be glad to have you, Linda. Linda does too. You know, it's a fantastic experience. I'll tell you.
We do have an event coming up in October. I don't know if Greg got the chance before I called in to talk about that a little bit too.
No, I didn't.
elaborate.
No, go
We are-
ahead.
We are having Chip Coffee is coming into we're going to have an event at Rockwell Hall, which is at Buffalo State College. Chip Coffee, the Booth Brothers, Jay Wasley from Ghost Adventures, and of course BPI will be part of putting on a presentation, and the girls from the Spirited History down in Virginia are coming up, and then our sister museum friend Bonnie Hayes from the Palmyra Historic Museum in Palmyra, New York. They're all gonna be putting on presentations at Rockwell Hall for one night, and then we're going to have a VIP at the museum with all our special guests that are coming in. So that'll be coming up, and all ticket information will be online for that shortly.
Okay. At the end of the show, I'm sorry, Hank, but at the end of the show, if you want, you can put links up for that. If you have any, you can throw them up.
We're going to get all that done. We're in, it's going to be October 29th and 30th, the Halloween week, which will be awesome. And once details are there, we'll get them out there so we can get them online for you. But we have to get all that stuff going.
Oh, okay. I was just fixing to say you can throw them up in the chat room here too if you like.
Yeah, that way there we can paste them and put them back over on our communities and
right.
further put that word out. Yeah, getting tongue-tied here.
I'd appreciate it.
Roger's waiting for me to slip and say something like Iron Mountain because coming from Michigan, okay, we have a ski resort in the Upper Peninsula, and we've discussed that I think one time before. It's Iron Mountain. It's a ski resort, and working with CJ, trying to do the advertise for Iron. God dog it. Son of a...
Now you can't remember Iron Mountain, huh?
Okay, go away. Go away. How many times I had to do that? Do the Iron Island over again, and I'm going through everything, and it's like, yeah, that was great, except for one thing. Oh yeah, what? It's Iron Island. It's a... Wait a minute, what? What?
Yeah.
We actually get that a lot. People do that a lot, and there's a company here in Buffalo called Iron Mountain, and they're a recycling company, and they're not far from the museum itself to begin with, and sometimes people will call it Iron Mountain too. So, and we just say, oh no, it's Iron Island. Do you know why we're called?
I don't feel so bad now.
Do you know why we're called Iron Island?
Because of Greg made mention of this. It had to do with the fact that it's basically located in the center where all the railroad lines had gone through.
Correct. It's completely surrounded by railroad tracks, and you either had to go over or under railroad tracks to get into the neighborhood. We were actually called a city within a city at one point because we were just kind of stuck out on our own, and we had everything and anything imaginable that you'd have in a big city in our little tiny neighborhood. And back in the 1890s, a politician came through and named it Iron Island because all the railroad men were settling here.
Oh, even more so better. Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah. Again, like I said, just like, any neighborhood, I mean, there's just so much history and so much to learn about, and that's what brings everything out, I guess.
And mentioning the Booth brothers, I myself am a big fan. I would love to have them here too.
I have to tell you, Paul Doring had reached out to him, one of our volunteers, and he told me, Linda, you got to get these guys. They'd really be interested in coming up. So I reached out to Christopher Booth, and what a wonderful man. I mean, I didn't talk to him on the phone, but our conversations through Facebook, our private messages, he's just seems like such a kind person and very nice and very upbeat and just really receptive to wanting to come up here and hang out and put on a presentation and do their thing. And I'm really, really looking forward to meeting them. That's going to be really great.
I've attempted to try to get Christopher Booth to come on and do a show with us, but I haven't got word back yet on whether or not that's going to happen. I think it would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. He's a great guy. I really think so. Just from the little bit we've communicated, I just really like him a lot. And I'm sure his brother Philip is just the same way.
You mentioned about the guys from the one group that were resting or whatever, and they heard a noise and they rounded a corner and he runs into the shadow figure. Have you ever, either one of you or anybody that you know of while investigating there, ever had a spirit go through you?
Kind of like in a channeling type of way, or?
No. I'm talking about like, just pass through you. Like, you're going this way and you round a corner and you just go like right through it. Or did they mention, that it felt any certain way, like going through this shadow, or?
I can't recall anyone ever telling me that. That particular night, like I said, it was Patrick and Paul from BPI. Patrick had said he rounded the corner and kind of like, like, whoa, bumped into it type of thing. Like whatever it was right there in front of him. But that was it. It kind of stopped right at that point. And then just disappeared. But no, I've never heard anybody say that. And I don't think I ever want to. That's creepy.
Well, we did have one guest when he went to the top of the ladder, and he felt something going through him. I've had it already in different places where it seems like in your back. I did the Science Museum one time over in Buffalo, and we were doing an investigation there, and walking down behind a stage in an auditorium there, and it felt like something so cold trying to get into my back. It was weird, and I had to walk fast to try to get away from it. And at another time, ever heard of the Hinsdale House?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's down
okay. I'm looking forward to being caught up on that.
Well, I stayed overnight at the Hinsdale House, and it's got quite a reputation too. And when you stay there in the summertime, it's beautiful out there. It's an old farmhouse. And I'm outside, I'm watching the fireflies, and I'm watching the stars, because the stars are brighter. They almost see you can reach out and touch them. And I was just having a good old time just out there in the dark, and I felt the same thing with the coldness trying to get into my back. And I had to tell it, stop, I don't want you, because this place here has kind of a dark reputation. I really, it's a little, it's kind of scary out there. But the minute I told it to stop, it did stop. But it's a cold that I've never felt before in my life, and I was raised up north, so.
That's why I was thinking it sounded familiar. The farm, it was something about a farm.
Oh,
I remember seeing something about that when I was researching something.
It used to be a stagecoach stop back in the old days, and its legend I haven't really gotten into researching. I'm still researching today, because Linda, you know Pam, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say her last name, but she's in charge of it, and we're going to sit down and talk, because I write for Lorraine Warren, too. I write for her journal. And so, like I say, it was a stagecoach stop, and according to legend, that people would check in, but they didn't check out, if you know what I mean. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were saying there's graves in the back, and they were even stuffing bodies in the crawl spaces. Now, whether it's true or not, unless I find it in the records in the town or county hall, I always want to make sure that it's a legend or if it's real,
You guys were asking about a couple of different maybe things of evidence that we have gotten or other people have gotten. If people go to our Facebook page, there's actually a picture on our Facebook page of what is a panoramic shot. And the shot was taken by a girl who was there for a tour on a Thursday night. And she was standing in the chapel room and just took her camera, her phone it actually was, and did a panoramic view. And after she did that, she came up to me and she said, Linda, I'm confused. She goes, I didn't see that there's a third person in this picture. I didn't think there were 3 people in the hallway. And when you look at the picture, you'll see a there's a girl in blue. That's Gina. She's one of our volunteers. And you see Marge, my mom, and she's getting ready to walk out. And down at the far end of the hallway is what looks like the back of a man standing there, and they have it looks like a pair of jeans and like a blue jean jacket on. And you can see it as clear as day. So we kind of started collecting, people and like, okay, let me see who was where and what do you have on, and, looking at people's coats and the way they were dressed. And Tom, he does a lot of our technical stuff, he had gone to the surveillance camera, and he brought the camera up at the exact moment this girl took the picture, and there's absolutely nothing at the end of the hallway, just the two women in the hallway and nothing at the far end. That picture and both of those pictures are actually on our Facebook page, and that was picked up a couple years ago, and that was probably probably the coolest thing I've seen in a while, because it's so evident that this man is there in the camera in the picture, but in the surveillance thing, he's not. So if you get a chance to check us out on Facebook for that, you'll be able to see those pictures.
Awesome. Hey, Johnny wants to know, Greg, why do you think that the spirits are still at this location?
Why they're still staying? You know how hard it is to determine. A lot of people say, like the kids, why would the kids want to stay there? Of course, Linda did explain Richard, because he goes back from this house back to the, back and forth between the two places. Tommy, I could never figure out why he likes the place so much, but he does. All of us have kind of it's like a relationship with Tommy. We all love him. He's like our little boy over there. And with all the EVPs that we get from him, and Linda will back me up on it, that they're all interactive. Not all, but most of them are interactive from Tommy. Little boy's voice, you can't mistake it. And they're all at least Class A EVPs. Just to give you one or two examples, okay, I asked Tommy what he wanted for Christmas one time. And when he went back on my tape, because I'm old-fashioned, I got a tape player. And when I went back on the tape, sure as heck he said Snoopy. Now, Snoopy was big back in '66 when Tommy had passed away.
Right.
And so my son and I had come that Christmas, as Linda will tell you, she sets up a Christmas tree in Tommy's room, and I left him a Snoopy there. Another time, one of the girls had asked Tommy, she asked him, well, we buy planes and trains and boats, and a little boy's voice again, and he comes just to Twain, Twain, like a little boy I talk.
That's awesome. Do you know if he plays with Snoopy or not?
It's hard to tell. As Linda will tell you too, that we started out, we didn't have a lot of poltergeist, what you call poltergeist or physical activity, but it is starting to ramp up a little bit. I'll let Linda tell you about the picture if you want. Did you want to tell them about the picture?
Sure.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Oh yeah, let Linda will explain.
I'll add a little bit about this stuff with the toys. People bring a ton of toys in for the kids all the time. So, every so often we have to clean this stuff out. But if they play with the toys, they're very neat and they put them back where they belong. So we never really see any movement with that. But back this past June, my brother, he's in a running group, and him and his running friends wanted to come and do an investigation. So we had, it was at the end of June, we came in and we were hanging out in the military room, and everybody was sitting in there, and my brother was standing at the back doorway part of the room. And on the wall in the hallway, we have 3 pictures. One of the pictures is what the church originally looked like. The second one is what the museum or the funeral home looked like. And the third picture is what the museum looks like now. Now, keep in mind, these are not framed pictures. They're just paper pictures that are taped to the wall, and they've been up there for years. Well, all of a sudden, my brother kind of screams or yells. I won't say what he said, but he turns and he looks down the hallway, and the picture of what the museum looks like now had come off the wall and had flown across the room in the hallway and was laying upside down. Now, I thought that was incredibly strange because if it was going to fall, why didn't it just fall straight down behind the cabinet that's there? So, you know, we didn't see how it happened, so we went to the surveillance cameras to see if we could see it, but the infrared from the camera only reached so far. And we couldn't see it until, you know, you see my brother stick his head out of there and shine the flashlight, and you see the picture on the floor. So we put the picture back up. A couple weeks go by. I think it was a Saturday morning, and we were coming in for normal museum hours, and one of the volunteers comes in, and she's walking down the hallway, and the picture is off the wall, almost in the identical spot it was in when it fell off the night my brother saw it, laying upside down. Well, Tom, our little tech guy, he had set up a red light in the hallway, so it when the lights went out and the infrared went on, it lit up the whole hallway. So we figured, oh my God, we're definitely going to catch how this picture came off the wall. And I went back and I'm looking through the camera. Well, the red light is on a timer because in case it gets too hot, we don't want it going, all night long. So it's on a timer. But it went off like at 2:45 in the morning, and the picture still wasn't off the wall. But when the sunlight came through the one window, you saw that at 5:30 in the morning, the picture was on the floor. And you could never see it happen because the light had gone off, and then not until the sun came out did we see it. So within that couple-hour time frame is when it happened. And it's almost like, what the heck? Do they know that the light went out and now we won't be able to see them? But now I taped it back up there again, and we'll see if it happens again.
Matt, are you still waiting in the background?
Yep, I'm here, Roger.
Okay, if you wanted to say something, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that, thank you, Linda and Greg, for, having us there, and Iron Island's so awesome. We love to get there as much as we can. It's really an amazing place.
Well, you're definitely welcome back, Matt, anytime. We love having you, and it's nice to have a group such as yourself that, once again loves the building as much as we do and wants to keep coming back and doing more, investigating, see what we can find.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not only the paranormal, but, I mean, the history of it is amazing, and like I said, we tell everybody, to go there. I mean, it's awesome there. I mean, if not for the paranormal, just to take a tour, it's really, really such a cool place.
Oh, yeah, and you guys are an awesome group, so you guys rock.
Oh, well, thank you. Anyway, that's about it. I just want to call in and, give my support to you guys and just say it's, Iron Island is so awesome, and it really is our favorite place to go.
Make sure you post all your stuff, any evidence on our page, Matt, so everyone can see your stuff and see how you guys work, because it is awesome.
All right, I sure will. Thank you, Linda. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
He hit the nail on the head there, because that is so right. A lot of times investigators will go in and investigate something, and they're only there to investigate the spirits. I like to investigate the history.
Yep.
Well, there's plenty of that there, too, and as Linda will tell you, there's so much to see over there that it actually, if you looked at everything, it'd take you about a couple of days to look at everything, But it's amazing. Can I tell you about another picture?
Oh, yeah, Greg, you definitely have to tell that story.
That's because this is one of the bigger things that happened, like Linda says. I had a group over there the one night, and, we were in the front room, which was Tommy's room towards the front of the building, and, of course, the military room is in the middle room. And there's like a big door in between it with the accordion folders there, like a regular, a funeral place, where they have the separations. Well, the doors were open, and I said, I was leading the way, and I was telling Edgar, I said, Edgar, would you like to tap on a picture and knock a picture off the wall? Well, I can't remember how far it was after that, but it was like a few seconds or a minute, and all of a sudden we heard a thud. And we went into the room, shined the flashlight, and this was kind of a heavy picture with a frame, and it fell off the wall. And the thing is that it had a hook that was at a 90-degree angle. The hook was still intact on the wall, and it had the sawtooth on the back. If you guys are familiar with that, to adjust the pictures, that picture had to be lifted a little bit and then it just dropped like that. It won't fall off by itself. And then I got a hold of Linda, and I was praying. And sure enough, Linda and Tom, I believe Tom was with you, right, Linda?
Yeah, Tom.
And she did catch it falling off the wall. It was amazing. And it was right after I asked him to do it.
And that video is, Tom downloaded that video and put it on our Facebook page also. That evidence is right on there.
That's awesome. I mean, almost on command. That's
what happened.
That's beautiful. Getting back to doing an investigation, you can't really do a proper investigation without studying the history of the site that you're investigating, because so many answers come from the history. You don't just come in, oh, okay, yeah, you have this and you have that. That's great, but why? Who is? Why is? These questions have to be part of the investigation and answered in order to truly evaluate the paranormal activity. I use the term paranormal activity as not the same as a haunting. That's just my philosophy as to how that is. What? Yeah, one
intelligent
is,
or
yes.
I agree. I think a haunting is it sounds real sinister or different than, because there could be a whole bunch of paranormal stuff going on, and I don't know how to explain it, but I understand what you mean by that.
Yeah, you sound like you did a great job re-explaining it. Really.
That was
Linda.
Yes.
I have a question for you from Johnny. Wants to know. He says, I've seen pictures online of bricks that have fallen outside of the building. What happened, and is it safe to investigate there?
Well, it's weird. The bricks were added to the original wooden structure of the church in 1915, and back in 2005, we had the bricks on the parking lot side of the building. It would be on the west side of the building, had fallen off, and the whole side collapsed. And the city of Buffalo had come in. We had engineers come in, and they all looked at it, and they couldn't believe how sound the wooden structure was underneath these bricks. Well, we had those bricks repaired, and moving forward, who'd ever think it would happen again? But one Sunday afternoon, all our volunteers were out. We were doing our spring cleaning around the building, and Janine and her daughter, Danielle, were between the buildings cleaning out all the overgrown, weeds and such. And they had just moved from that outside of that area, and the east side of the wall bricks collapsed down. And thank God they had moved from there, because they're both little girls. They would have been crushed, but the building itself is so sound underneath that, they can't even believe it. Obviously back in 1883, they built damn good buildings. And the building is solid, and people are still coming in, and nothing has changed. The investigations still go on, and it's very safe for people to still come in there. We're just still waiting to get get the insurance to come through and get the bricks fixed and see what we're going to do with it. But they were put up for cosmetic reasons, at that time, whatever the reasoning was. But I actually think it is awesome looking when you actually see the original church. The wood is in impeccable condition. There's no damage to it, no water damage, nothing. And I almost thought, boy, how cool would this be to be able to get the money to get all the bricks off and have the original wooden church standing.
That would be cool. And, this has nothing to do with paranormal, but I'm going to throw this in anyway because it's a history thing. Main Street in town here where I live, a couple of years or so ago, may have been a little longer than that, they were like tearing into the fronts of all the faces of the store buildings and stuff, and redoing the fronts of them and all that. And they had dug like maybe 2 or 3 layers deep into the front of this one building, and behind that was where there used to be an arcade.
Okay.
It was called Pop's Arcade, and it still had the Mountain Dew, logo and everything. It said Pop's Arcade, blah blah blah. And this was like, I don't know how many years back when this arcade thing. It was before I ever moved here, so it had to have been a pretty good while because I've been here probably over 30 years. So I would assume it was probably in the 60s, maybe.
Okay.
And that was just awesome. What you get into the history of these old buildings and everything.
Like
how far back they go. Right, exactly. How far back do they go, and what was there?
I visit Lake George, New York, a lot. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the area, but my parents used to take us on vacation a lot when we were young, and that was one of our favorite places to go, was Lake George. And we were back there this past May, although I've been a year ago May actually, and driving around looking at some of the old houses, and I looked up on top of this hill, and there was this beautiful old Victorian house was up there. It's in disrepair, but the structure of it is beautiful, and the inside is just gorgeous. It needs a ton of work, and so my mind is, going because I would love to own this building, and I've done a ton of research on that, like I've done for Iron Island. And again, what you're saying, it all goes back to all this history and the area. Obviously there was a big, war at the time there in the 1755, and it's just the history is amazing, and these buildings hold so many secrets.
Yes, they do. We have a caller. Caller, you're online.
Hey, Hank and Roger.
Yes.
Hey.
How you doing? This is Tom.
Hey,
how are you?
How's it going?
Hey,
I'm good. Hey, Linda. Hey, Greg. How you doing?
Yeah,
Hi,
pretty
Tom.
good. Pretty good, Tommy.
Calling to offer my support here, and glad you guys are on the show. Just a couple of things I wanted to talk about, like the museum itself, and it's an awesome place. It's one of the most, I'd have to say, the most haunted place I've ever investigated. And for the money, it's an awesome deal. As far as going in there and getting your feet wet as far as paranormal investigating goes. I wanted to talk about a story that, Greg, you might remember a few years back when me, you, and another guy, Steve, we were we were investigating the place. Things weren't really happening that night. We were in the chapel room, and the one wall of the chapel room, it on the other side goes down the stairway to the basement, and we could hear at that night what sounded like someone having a conversation. To me, I thought a radio was on, like a talk show or something.
Yeah.
And to me, it sounded like someone had a talk show going. We walked around the other side, nothing was going on, and then we decided to pack it up that night. And as we were getting ready to leave, I had remembered that a friend of ours had what she would do, Sandra, she would go into the room and say, "Thank you very much. You know, we had a good night. Have a nice evening." And she'd have her recorder going, and she would get a reply. You know, she's gotten replies, EVP saying, "You're welcome." And I walked back into the chapel room, and I was doing the same thing. I stood in the doorway there, and as you know, the doors to the chapel room, they're those folding accordion style doors. So I was standing right in there, and I said, "Well, thanks for a nice evening. We're going to get going." And all of a sudden, on the right side of me, this folding door just started shaking back and forth. I wasn't touching it. And then on the other side of the inside of the room, it sounded like someone. To me, I compared it to someone like wiping their feet like on a floor mat or like jogging in place or something like that. And I put my head in there with the flashlight, and then decided that I didn't belong there alone, and I hightailed it back into the kitchen with you guys, and I did quite a bit of hyperventilating too, because
hey, we've done that, Tom, right?
yeah, that thing that got me going. You know, that was like one of the. Oh, yeah. I've had many moments at Iron Island that.
Oh God, yeah, me and Steve there. You know. Geez.
Yeah, we got to get back together and do that one. You know, that was very interesting.
I'll give him a call.
Make yourself take notice.
Yeah. Roger, just to tell you too, Tom's an excellent investigator. I mean, really.
Oh, thanks, Greg.
Excellent. And if you ever wanted to do an interview with him, Tommy, you don't mind me telling him.
Well, we'll see.
Guy to do it. Oh, come on, Tom, you could do it.
Tom is being modest right now because he puts together a lot of the stuff and presentations for the meetup that we have in the building. He helps, he gets all the camera stuff for me when I need it. I always call Tom, you got to get the cameras, you got to check that, and he puts together stuff. So he's being very modest, and he does a lot for the museum.
Oh.
So, Tom, thank you very much.
Tom is fantastic, and he's an urban explorer, too.
Yeah, one of these days I got to get down into under the floors there, you know, in the crawl space. I'm going to wait until it's colder, so then the ants aren't around, or if there are ants, with my luck I would discover them, you know.
Yeah.
So
I'm holding you to this year.
Got to get Greg and Linda to go in there with you, though.
I'm not going in.
That's right. No, I will.
Now, if I can go, I can tell you a couple more stories if you want, if you got the time.
Go ahead.
Okay. Something that happened to us, I would say this was last fall in the military room. Just, you know, like Linda said, we would get together on Thursday evenings, just to kind of hang around. The volunteers would have dinner, and then we'd do a little bit of investigating afterwards. And for like Linda, was it only like a 2 or 3 week stretch? Or maybe not even that far, was when we were in the military room and we were getting the pounding on the floor.
Yes, that was probably it happened for quite a while. I'd have to say a 2 or 3 month stretch.
Was it that long?
Yeah, it was that long, and every once in a great while it happens again, but it went on for quite a bit, but it hasn't in a while.
Yeah, see, we would get in that room and we would all sit, we all had chairs there in a circle, and we would be investigating, doing EVP sessions, and it just, something was systematically walking around us behind us and would pound their foot. It sounded like they pounded their foot or something on the floor, and it would be right behind you, and then it would go over. You know, some people felt it on one side of the room, other people didn't. You know, and then it would make its rounds and go around behind you, and then while you're talking, all of a sudden, boom, right behind you. And that was pretty interesting. I remember Lorraine actually picking her feet up and actually kind of crouched up, standing on her chair because of what was going on. That was pretty freaky.
It got very intense that night. That's for sure.
Oh my God, yeah. And then Tom, remember when we get the chairs to vibrate? And we were really scared.
It would start rumbling, Absolutely.
Yeah. None of the other chairs were rumbling. It wasn't from the floor. It was a chair itself, and it happened how many times over there?
There was a time not too long ago. We were in the chapel room, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with the REM pod. That instrument that when you hold it, actually, it's a round instrument. It's got little lights on it and an antenna. And when you touch it, the lights will light up and it'll squeal. It'll be like, you know. And I had turned it on. We were going into the chapel room, and I had walked to the hallway to set it down on the floor into the doorway of the chapel room. So it was squealing as I was holding it because it was on, and I set it down on the floor, and it still was squealing. I took a couple of steps back, and it was still squealing like crazy. Then all of a sudden, we heard all these footsteps like run down the hallway, and then the REM pod shut off. Like I had just set it in front of something, and it was like, what the heck just happened, you know?
Yeah.
Tom, another story about Tom is we have a couple of friends. They're called Adventure Smiths. They're down from the Baltimore area, Jonathan and Frank. And they had come up last year, and they did a little presentation, a little benefit to help us out. And we decided after everybody was gone again, we were going to hang out. And they brought in a periscope. Is that what it's called, Tom?
What was it?
The periscope one.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called, or whatever? It lights up if energy goes past it.
Yeah.
And Tom had gotten up to walk out of the room. This thing was not going off. And Tom got up to walk out of the room, and it was like this device, whatever would set it off, was following Tom. And then the second Tom came back in the room, it's almost like it followed him back in the room, and it would go off. So something was following Tom around that night. And it's so cool when the equipment goes off and it kind of validates, what's happening.
Yeah, I was like, oh, excuse me a second. I walked out of the room. I come back and I sit down, and everyone goes, whoa! And I'm like, what? What are you doing? What's going on? You know?
They were following you, Tom.
Oh, yeah. Just as long as they don't follow me home anymore, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, did you have one follow you home?
I've had a couple of instances after I got done there. I mean, we do protection prayer and things like that when we get done in the evening.
That's good.
And I've gotten home where there was a stretch there for a while. My bedroom is in the basement, and every morning, I believe it was like 5:15 every morning, I was being woken up. I woke up to a woman's voice whispering in my ear, and it wasn't my wife.
Okay.
And then like the next night, someone was tapping on my window. I got a fenced-in backyard, and someone was, and I don't live in a neighborhood where someone would be in my backyard at 5:15 in the morning. Yeah, tapping on my window. And then at one point, my son, this was about a year and a half ago, he said he saw someone in the basement. He saw a shadow go by, and he said it was little. And my son was only 6, 7 at the time, so that kind of had me kind of like, concerned.
Was it a child or was it an adult?
Child, I really don't know, because I didn't. He told me about it, and all he said was that something went across the floor, something went by him, and it was dark and it was see-through and it was very quick. And there was one time when I was coming down the basement stairs where I saw something walk by. As I was coming down the staircase, it was walking opposite of me, going the other way after it was down in the basement. And I did yell out, "I just saw you!"
Oh, Jesus.
Did it
That'll
go,
get its attention.
But, I think they do pop up every now and then. Actually, the house that I'm in, someone did die in this house. And when I first moved in, I tried to clarify with it wasn't the previous owner, it was the owner before that. that I'm the new owner, that I bought it from his son, and and wanted his blessing and everything like that, just to let him know what was going on. So I think I got that straightened out.
Did you set any ground rules as to whether or not what he was allowed to do, or what he was allowed to get into, or whatever this may have been?
No, you know what? As a matter of fact, I didn't. I probably should have. Like, don't scare the children. And do what you want, but don't let us know. I don't know, but yeah, at the time I didn't. Where I probably should have.
Just a thought for the future.
Yeah. Well, if something else happens, I gotta make sure everybody else is out of the house when I do it. Getting back to Linda, I got a question for you. Even though I'm a volunteer there, I'll ask something so everybody can hear. What do your family members think of what's going on and with you getting involved in the paranormal? Because my family thinks I'm a lunatic.
Well, you obviously know my family very well. My one sister, Cindy, her son has his own little paranormal group that they started many years ago, and they do different investigations, so they're very much into it. She was very much into it. My brother has had, actually, every time he seems to come there, he has an experience there. Mm-hmm. So, again, he's a believer, and obviously my father has been there. He's had experiences, more of a negative type of experiences for some reason, but he's always heard something growling around him when he comes in there. Oh. Everybody is, except there's my one sister, Diane, who believes in nothing, but she's had experiences there, and she's not as open as the rest of us, but, she's had things happen to her that she can't explain, so it's kind of hard to deny it.
Greg, have you ever had anything follow you home?
Yes, I did, but it was actually from Rolling Hills, and it was kind of a strange thing because, like I say, I was an investigator and tour guide over there on the weekends, and about 6 o'clock in the morning, it was a little later in the year, so it was dark, and I'm getting into my car, and I see something like a white light, very tiny pinpoint white light with like sparks coming off it. And it was inside my car. Now, I thought, well, maybe I'm overtired, maybe it's a reflection from something from the window. So I get into the car, and, I go home, and then I was working at the federal buildings at the time, and I'm sitting outside. It's like a little shack over there, and what had happened was I hear this crackling noise, and I look over to my right, and there's that little pinpoint light, and these sparks coming off it, drifting down like a snowflake. And then all of a sudden it was gone. Now, I can't explain, was it paranormal? Was it static electricity? I've never seen nothing like that before. And we have seen the lights with our own eyes over at Iron Island, too.
I've seen... Oh, sorry, Greg. I was going to say I've seen pinpoints of light in the chapel room, mostly in the top left-hand corner. There seems to be a lot of little tiny... almost like, like when you see a shooting star that's almost like real tiny, like a grain of sand kind of shoot by. That's what I was seeing. I wasn't seeing like gigantic balls or anything like that. Just little tiny balls of light that would shoot across.
Just little ones. They were coming off the walls myself. That only happens once in a while. When Gina and I were down in the basement, and we were sitting with a table between us, and we had a flashlight and a K2, and it was dark there. And Gina and I looked at the same time down by the K2 and the flashlight, and this little, wasn't a tiny ball, but it was very, like a pale white light. And if you've ever seen a comet with like a fantail, it had a fantail to it. It lifted up slowly, drifted towards a wall where they said the kids were buried there, and then just disappeared. And Gina can tell you about it.
Contrary to, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. But can I say one more thing?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Greg.
I had one thing that was really totally freaked me out, too. And I was working with some off-duty Buffalo police. We were, doing an investigation. Our investigation wrapped up, and we're walking back down the hallway, and the one Buffalo cop was holding a millimeter. And I know you're familiar with the millimeter and what it can do.
Right.
All of a sudden he goes, man, this thing is going crazy. And we both look at it at the same time, and it had hello just spelled it right across the face of it. Now, I know you ain't going to believe this, and I didn't believe it either. By the time I got my cell phone out, it was gone to try to take a picture of it. But it was there. I had a witness with it. And they do, in our building, they do manipulate all kinds of electronics that turn them on and off. As Tom will tell you, so will Linda. And we had one guy, he was up at the top of the ladder one time, and something knocked his camera right out of his hand. And he had to reach way over to pick it up. It just didn't drop. It was knocked out right out of his hand. So we've had a lot of things are ramping up, actually. You know, it just seems like it gets more and more every night, you know, so.
Yeah, what you're describing earlier is the ghost lights. Now, there's a lot of discussion on that. I am a firm believer in orbs. Not everything is an orb, but if you really go in and study what an orb is,
yeah, me too,
there
man.
are differences. There are differences, and what you're describing are literally ghost lights. They'll leave those streaks. They'll have that orb-like start, and then the comet tail, like you're talking about. Or it'll be really, really fanned out. I've got pictures of some of those, like out there at a local park here in Washington.
Oh, so
and
we're not the only ones that see them, though.
No, you are not. And it's quite a treat to actually be witness to such an event.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing was too, Hank. You're Hank. Yeah,
yes, I'm Hank.
I'm sorry.
I'm the Santa Claus.
Me too. I got a beard. But I've had my people that come in there seeing them too. They see them floating around the rooms and stuff. But what Gina and I saw was right inches away from us. It was fantastic, and it was slow. It didn't dart. It was slow, just drifted off towards this hole we had in the wall in the basement, and then just disappeared. It was really great.
Now, that would have been something to have caught a video of and just, oh, wow, yeah. You know.
We had no time to do it, you know. We caught a video of a shadow person, right, Linda? Right, Tommy? Down the basement.
Yeah, downstairs.
You caught it. You were the one that caught it, Tom.
That was in 2007. We were down in the basement, and one of the investigators, Sandra, I think it was her first or second time ever investigating. We were, in fact, I have a recording of her. She was asking if there were any children downstairs, and maybe an hour before that, she asked if any kids wanted to sit on her lap. And while the evening's going on, while we were down there, I got on video all of a sudden her just saying like, "Oh my God, something's bouncing on my knee," and she said she compared it to a small child was like bouncing on her leg, bouncing on her knee. We started holding the K2 meters to her, and we were picking up something, a small energy that was like coming like maybe from her lap up to like maybe her chin, you know, maybe basketball size, right in front of her. So I was videotaping that while this was going on, and after we videotaped it, we had a meeting. It had to be about 3 weeks later, and I wanted to play this in the presentation. And I put the video on, and what I didn't notice was that while this was all going on and we were videotaping her and her reaction, you can see a shadow come out from behind her up along the ventilation duct that's in the basement. And it just looks like someone coming in, leaning in, looking at us, and then shooting back and taking off.
I saw that. I saw that on the website. That was fantastic.
Jeez.
Even in slow motion, it's fast.
Yeah.
And nobody was moving down. I was the only one standing at the time. I think there might have been 5 of us downstairs, all sitting in chairs. I was standing, videotaping, facing her, and this figure came out and leaned out, looked at us, then shot back and took off.
That's your debunk right there. Nobody else was moving. Nobody else was creating a shadow.
Yeah, that was
awesome.
yeah.
I loved
that
her
was
reaction
it, you know?
too. I loved her reaction to that too.
Mm. And I haven't gotten anything like that since that was the big one, you know. I mean, we got some monumental EVPs and there's other stuff, but that is the cream of the crop for me.
For all of us, Tommy.
So hey, look, I'm going to get going. I'm going to let you guys go here, and I just wanted to say, great show, guys, and
it's
thanks,
good here.
Tommy.
And keep rocking, man.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, thanks a lot.
Okay,
All right, bye-bye.
Awesome. Hey,
Wow.
it was nice having
that
him
was 2
on.
hours?
I'm sorry, what?
Can you believe that was 2 hours?
I went by so
Wow.
fast, I can't believe it.
Guys, we're going to run a little overtime. We're going to take a break real quick. We're coming to you live on WCJV Digital Broadcasting out of Youngstown, New York. We're going to take a short pause, and we'll be right back.
You got
You are listening to WCJV Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, New York.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. This has been a really amazing show. Greg and Linda are great. Tommy was really cool. We're going to jump right back in here. We've got a few more minutes before we have to shut down, so we're going to get right back into it. Hank, I don't know about you, man, but I'd really love to be able to do a live show there, wouldn't you?
Oh, are you kidding me? Just to have the pleasure of hanging out there and maybe even getting some EVPs from Edgar and paying tribute to the other veterans that are still there.
Right.
Being a vet myself, it's just the awesomeness of those that have gone on before. Just to hear what they have to say. And to let them know they're not forgotten.
Yeah. Right. Hank, what were you in? Army, Navy?
Oh, don't cuss at me like that. Oh, God, don't cuss at me like that.
What's that?
I was Army. I was 2 years active duty Army, and then 13 years Army National Guard with a field artillery unit as a medic.
Oh yeah, I was Navy. this was back in the 60s. I was in Vietnam for a while and that, and, got to see a lot. But, I stayed in for 4 years. I didn't re-up or anything, so went back to civilian life. But it gives, everybody has a respect for the military, but for us guys, it's like a brotherhood,
It is. It is.
And just so you know, Hank, after the burial out of the Iron Island Museum was the second veteran recovery program for the Patriot Guard rider burial in New York State. And since our burial at Iron Island, in our region, the region that I'm the coordinator of, we've located, identified, and buried close to 130 veterans that went unclaimed.
That's awesome.
You
and
have,
all been buried.
Linda, you have space, as I'm looking in your www.ironislandmuseum.com, in your photo gallery. It'd be nice to see some of those pictures in there of the Patriot Guard and
Oh, well,
Right.
and all
get
that.
them up there. I'll definitely,
That would
I'll
be just
definitely get
beautiful.
Them up there.
And I want to
Definitely.
say that, Linda, you may not be a veteran, but I salute you for all the work you've done for our
yes,
veterans.
in spades.
No, thank you. It is an absolute honor. It means a lot to be able to help and do the research. And one of the other veterans that we've buried, his story sticks in my head because it's sort of a sad story. And he had come over, his family, him and his brothers and sisters had come over to the States without their parents, and they lived in an orphanage until he went off to war. And he went off to war, World War II. He came home, had no family. Everyone kind of went their own way. He was all alone. He lived all alone. And he died in 1965. And he died alone in 1965 and sat there for all those years until we were able to identify him and bury him with his fellow veterans at the Bath National Cemetery. And so he's no longer alone. And that just always stuck with me big time.
That makes a difference to a lost spirit. It really does.
Definitely.
We have a place out here in Ording, Washington. It's the Washington Soldiers Cemetery, and there are a lot of Civil War, Spanish American wars that were in between. I can't remember them all. Between World War I, World War II, Korea, and we have a few Vietnam vets in there. And every year at around Christmas, we go up with a some sort of Christmas presentation type of honor, and we let them know that they're not forgotten. We try.
Right.
Now we've been bad. We've been bad with all our other investigations. We usually try to get up there at least 2 or 3 times a year, and this year we haven't. So we're kind of bad on that. But we've been helping others with investigations. But we do have to go back. But every year we do not miss that.
Wow, that's awesome. And I do. I believe they appreciate it. And who knows? Who knows if some of those other spirits that have passed through were other veterans that, we found located and buried. I don't know. But it's an honor. It is an absolute honor to be able to do that.
Roger, anything?
I was typing there. You caught me right in the middle.
Now that's better. That's better than catching me at Iron Island. I'm
you did it right.
I'm intentionally. Oh, Jim.
You're not one-fingered like I am, though, right? You're not a one-finger typer. I admit it.
Well, gentlemen, I think you need to put something together because I know I would love to, and everyone else would love to welcome you to the museum to do a live show whenever you want.
I think that'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Yes, it would. If we
but I live way out here in Washington right now.
If we could figure out the means of the financial end of it, I would love to do that.
Amen.
Oh, yeah.
But we'd love
I
to
mean,
have you.
if we could do a live feed through and do an investigation there and have it fed live through CJ Mars Radio, that would be awesome.
Oh, that would be
yeah.
awesome. I would love it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that was just the kick in the bucket there compared to, I was telling CJ, you know, that could be something new for us. Start doing live locations with live feedback through the network. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
what did they
willing
have
to be
by-
the first one.
And y'all would be the first one. Yep.
Yes, you would. Yes, you would.
Okay, folks, we're getting pretty near the end mark here. If you guys want to throw some links up real quick, and we've been trying to throw them up here in the chat room as we've been going along.
I've been putting up the Facebook and the Iron Island Museum website too.
And I've been putting up your email, Linda, for live investigations to contact you for live overnight.
That's great. Super. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And this has really been awesome, you guys.
Same here. We appreciate it.
I've been to your Facebook and I clicked a strong like, and I even left a little message.
Awesome. I'll have to check it out. My computer locked up on me, so I can't get to anything.
Okay, guys, we're gonna wind this thing down. Really, really, really enjoyed this. You guys have been awesome, and it was nice of Matt to call in, and Tommy, and man, we've enjoyed this. It's been a great show.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Same for
I
us.
thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay, until next Monday, folks. Everybody have a wonderful night, sweet dreams, and all that. We'll see you next week.
And if you can't be normal, be paranormal.
Right.